What's going on, beautiful people? My name is Sean, and this is a compilation of all of the best and tastiest moments from my live reaction tonight on stream to the RFK confirmation hearing. Man, dude, that was something. Take a look.
Has this individual in his business world ever fulfilled his contracts or obligations to any workers in the past?
Okay, good question.
But if you are in this position, will you pledge that you will not fire federal employees who work on food safety,
okay.
work on trying to preventing things like salmonella?
Sure. So here's what's going to happen. I'll tell you right now, because I can already tell how this whole hearing is going to go as I've seen like 4 minutes of this clip, right? He's going to start answering. The guy's not going to like the response, and then he's going to just start saying something else. But also, isn't the whole like Trump platform like fire everybody and like bring in new people? Just be a bulldozer, be the bull in the china shop that Trump is. Everybody knows that he's a bull in a china shop. He just wrecks everything around him and builds something else new. And I think that's what people want, because people are not happy with the state of what our nation is in right now. So clearly, I think that's the plan. But we'll see how long it takes for this guy to interject. Let's see, we're at 4:26.
1,000 employees.
So that I take that as a
4:29. Three seconds it took for that guy to interrupt. Is he going to be able to get an answer out?
I take that's a simple yes, and I'm going to take that as a no. I take that as a no. Will you actually talk about protecting Americans from cyber criminals? Something we need to do a lot more on. Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks?
For the record, good question. I don't like this guy so far, but good question. Now, what's the answer?
Their healthcare files.
I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job.
Good answer. Good answer. How is Mr. Other Scratchy Voice dude going to refute that?
Based on your opinion, based upon your opinion, or your political agenda, or Mr. Trump's political agenda?
Based upon my opinion. Which,
for the record, would be his job as head of Health and Human Services, right? It's his discretion, right? So if he decides you guys are not doing your job right, it is his job to get people who are going to do the job right. So good answer.
I guess that means a lot of the folks who've had any type of views on vaccines will be out of work.
There you go. There's the interjection. There's the vaccine stuff. I know that they're just going to pummel him with vaccine questions, which they should, because I would say that is the most controversial part of RFK is the vaccine stuff.
Freeze grant funding for community health centers. Will you freeze federal funds for community health centers the way the current administration is doing?
The White House has made clear and no funds are going to be denied to any American for benefits in any program.
Do you know what happens at community health centers? Those are direct.
Are you talking about the Indian health centers?
No, I'm talking about community health centers.
Indian health centers? What is he on about?
Across the country.
I understand that. I mean, I strongly
So you're going to excuse Indian health centers, which is good, but others are not.
Right.
They're going to get their funds frozen.
I strongly support community health centers, as does the president.
So does that mean you're not going to freeze the funding that is currently frozen?
The White House has made clear.
You're not going to freeze the funding that's currently frozen? And then he corrected himself. Unfreeze it. So he's asking if he's going to unfreeze federal funding towards health clinics. I don't know, why is it currently frozen? I have to look into that.
None of that funding is supposed to be frozen.
There you go.
The direct payments are...
All the questions that I have as somebody who knows jack shit about this are the answers that RFK is giving me. And this guy, who supposedly is supposed to be the expert on what questions to ask, is just leading him into corners, trying to make him look like a fool. So far, 6 minutes in, I'm Team RFK. Let's see how he digs himself into a hole and changes my opinion.
Different than how the government operates. We fund the federal government down to community health centers. As a former governor, there's lots and lots of state programs that are related to health care that come from the federal government. They come down to the state, then it goes to local programs. All of those don't directly pay out $1 at a time, but they come from federal funding. They are all, even though they keep changing the guidance on a minute-by-minute basis, based upon 9:45 or 10:30 or 10:45, whatever time it is today, those funds are still frozen. Sir, I just
so he goes on this spiel about how dollars are paid out and then says as of whatever time the funds are still frozen, and RFK is here saying they're not supposed to be frozen, and this guy's throwing a hissy fit that RFK says he's not going to unfreeze it. But I mean, if you use an ounce of logic, then if somebody says the funds aren't supposed to be frozen, you would probably assume that if put in that position, they would unfreeze the funds. So this is gonna be a good confirmation hearing.
Honestly, I want to give you a fair shot.
No, you don't.
I don't feel like.
Yeah, did you hear
like
that? Did you hear that? Wait, let's go back. It was kind of quiet. He says, I want to give you a fair shot, and there's laughter in the audience. Hold on. I'll turn it up a little bit here.
I just honestly, I want to give you a fair shot, but I don't feel like.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. This is comedy. Put this on Netflix, bro.
Feel like you approach this job with the knowledge and candidly your willingness not to commit. Try to recommend to the president to make sure these funds are unfrozen and that people's lives are at stake is a very disappointing answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh boy. Okay, clip number 1 in the book. I'm saying 1-for-1 RFK. Can we get a tally going? RFK versus Senate. Funding for health centers or something like that. We're going to say win RFK. Okay, we're giving him 1. Another clip here I want to look at, because this is something that I think some conservatives would have an issue with RFK on, because, you know, RFK, lifelong Democrat, and part of the conservative platform is obviously the pro-life stance, at least amongst, I would say, most conservatives. RFK has in the past been more in favor of pro-choice and, you know, abortion and all of that. So I think this could be a detractor for some of the conservatives. This is a clip I found on X while I was scrolling. Let's see what he has to say in terms of abortion. That might win over some of those conservatives that are worried about his take.
I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy. I agree with him that we cannot be a moral nation if we have 1.2 million abortions a year.
That's a lot. That is a shit ton.
I agree with him that the states should control abortion. President Trump has told me that he wants to end late-term abortions, and he wants to protect conscious exemptions, and that he wants to end federal funding for abortions here or abroad. That's Title 10. I serve at the pleasure of the president. I'm going to implement his policy.
Decent answer. I mean, politically, it's the right answer for him to make. I don't know if a lot of Democrats are going to like that. Probably not. But you know, he's appointed by the president. He's got to do his job to try to make him happy, but he's also got to be able to do his job without just being like strung along like some kind of puppet. Maybe I'm a fool for thinking that Trump would do that. I mean, there's been speeches in the past where Trump's really the only real concern that Trump has with RFK is his thoughts on oil. Because for the longest time, I think he was like an environmental lawyer or something. Also known by his initial RFK Jr., environmental lawyer, author, and anti-vaccine activist. So this is the concerning part for a lot of people. But yes, he used to be an environmental lawyer. So he's very concerned on like climate change and that kind of shit. But obviously, that's not going to be part of his job. So Trump has said in the past, he's like, we'll let him run wild. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Just stay away from the oil because we're gonna drill, baby, drill. Okay, we know it's gonna be a good clip when Alex Jones reposts it. Okay, Democrat witch hunt. Oh, sorry, not witch hunt. He's just straight up calling the Honorable Miss Cortez Masto, I don't know, a witch. It's Alex Jones. This makes sense. Democrat witch holds up biased studies of dangerous baby-killing drug in attempts to bully RFK Jr., the big pharma industrial complex. I don't know what OF is. Probably not OnlyFans. Cards is collapsing. My mind is plagued by brain rot. Alex Jones is covering the RFK Jr. hearing with huge guests. I don't really care about his guests, but let's see the clip.
Here are the safety studies that tell us mifepristone is safe and effective. And I ask, Mr. Chair, that these about 40 studies be admitted to the record by unanimous consent.
Jesus.
Mifepristone was approved in 2000. The FDA has been under scrutiny and brought to court for failure to properly assess this drug as well as subsequent deregulations Senator Langford described that have occurred over the past 25 years. Some of these deregulations included ending the requirement that these drugs be prescribed by a doctor, ending reporting requirements for adverse events, and allowing these pills to be obtained through the mail.
I tried to look up what the hell misoprostone was. I can't find shit. I'm probably spelling it horribly wrong, but hopefully we get some context.
In fact, the FDA's own prescribing label mentioned that 3 to 5% of women taking this drug end up in the emergency room. My question is, if confirmed as Secretary of HHS, will you commit to working with the FDA Commissioner to review these deregulatory actions that are threatening the safety of women?
As I said to Senator Langford, I think it's immoral to have a policy where patients are not allowed to report adverse events and where doctors are discouraged from doing that.
I would agree. That's a good point. We'll let them keep talking. I want to kind of, there's a lot of talking in these Senate hearings, so I like to break it down into little sections and kind of unpack it. First point, I agree. It's good if you have adverse effect, you need to be able to report it. Something kind of similar topic that has been talked about more recently last few days with the whole transgender topic is one of the things in the huge pile of executive orders Trump has done is he's allowing patients to sue their practitioners if they, I think the wording he used, again, kind of exploitative, is cutting off healthy body parts. And if they come to regret that, or there's some kind of adverse effects from surgeries or medications, they can sue their practitioners. I haven't thought that one through enough to decide if I agree or not. I think generally it's a good take. Like, you should have the control and the peace of mind as a patient that if a doctor who swears an oath to do no harm causes you some kind of long-term harm, you should be able to sue. And this is why doctors have malpractice insurance. It's not like they're going to be completely screwed.
President Trump has asked me to study the safety of mifepristone. He has not yet taken a stand on how to regulate it. Whatever he does, I will implement those policies, and I will work with this committee, make those policies make sense.
Now,
Seems fair enough. He's like, I don't really know enough, but I'll work with the committee to make the policies make sense. Okay, I'm with you.
Also extremely concerned about your endorsement of radical fringe conspiracies that if
Here we go. This is what we come for, the conspiracies.
implemented at HHS would put American families' lives at risks. Vaccines are one of our greatest public health triumphs. And you don't need, I'm not talking about abstract medical science. One of the people who helped raise me was my grandfather, who was a pediatrician. He practiced medicine in this country from 1921 until the mid-1980s. And I heard details about the difference those vaccines made in saving lives in the children who were under his care. Vaccination has helped to eradicate many deadly diseases.
She's not wrong. Vaccines have saved a lot of lives
In the United States, including polio and smallpox,
Yes.
something we should be proud of as Americans. I am extremely concerned that as Secretary, you would be able to halt critical vaccine research and to exploit parents' natural worries by advising them not to vaccinate their children. This will lead to more children getting sick, and some will even die. Before the measles vaccine, about 500 American children died a year from measles.
Don't know if that's accurate, but I'll take your word for it.
This is too much of a risk for our country, and there is no reason that any of us should believe that you have reversed the anti-vaccine views that you have promoted for 25 years. For example, you have previously falsely suggested that the polio vaccine killed many, 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 many more people than polio ever did by causing fatal cancers, while rigorous safety studies show that to be completely false.
So keep in mind, this is the woman that Alex Jones here, the Honorable Alex Jones, called a Democrat witch. So far, her question, there's a lot of emotion in her voice. Sure, she's very, what's the word I'm looking for? This means a lot to her, right? As I think it should. But it's a fair question, and this is something that a lot of people have concerns with RFK about. So we'll see how he answers, because again, this is something I have a concern about, right? Like, it's probably good to not get polio and shit. I mean, I don't think it's so much an issue anymore. I don't know if people really still get polio, probably because of the vaccines, but nonetheless, let's see how this goes.
Now, let's go to something we agree upon. I am really heartened to see that one area where we agree on is on women's reproductive freedom. In your own words, it's not the government's place to tell people what to do with their bodies.
And this is what I was just talking about. Like, a lot of conservatives, this is their concern with RFK. They don't really care about the conspiracy theories and shit. That kind of goes with conservatism. We just love that shit. But the abortion stuff, they aren't the biggest fan of RFK on his views. So interesting.
You said that, correct? But you also said we need to trust the women to make that choice because I don't trust government to make any choices. You said
Any
that
choices.
too, right?
Yes.
It is remarkable that you have such a long record.
That was actually a pretty recent quote too. I don't know if you can see here, 2023. So this isn't like, they're not just pulling up shit from like 10 years ago. This is, and he said right away, he's like, yep, I said that. So just pointing this stuff out.
Yes.
It is remarkable that you have such a long record of fighting for women's reproductive freedom, and really great that my Republican colleagues are so open to voting for a pro-choice HHS secretary. So, Mr. Kennedy, I'm confused. You have clearly stated in the past that bodily autonomy is one of your core values. The question is, do you stand for that value or not? When was it that you decided to sell out the values you've had your whole life in order to be given power by President Trump?
This woman seems totally rational to me so far. I mean, these are heavy questions, but they're like good questions to ask.
Senator, I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy, that we can't be a moral authority in this country.
Right, so, but that isn't what you said back in New Hampshire.
She's being exploitative here. This used to be the Democratic viewpoint on abortion as well. I can't remember who exactly said it. It was one of the presidents. I'm sure somebody will tell me, but it's they said that the stance was basically abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. It was the idea that, like, if you're put in a position where that is absolutely needed, or if you're put in a position where you feel like there are no other choices, it should be legal, it should be safe, and it should be rare, meaning there shouldn't be that many. RFK here is saying he kind of holds that old Democratic view of abortion. That's what I take from this anyway, which is I agree that it should be legal. I agree that, you know, women should be able to make that choice. But I agree that it's also a tragedy when that choice is made. And I think that, like, any woman who's gotten an abortion, at least I would like to think, they don't think that's something to like flaunt about. It's something they had to think really hard about, and it's not necessarily a happy choice to make. So again, I don't think that this is like a big gotcha moment on RFK. I think he's just, you know, being an old-minded Democrat.
In 2023, my question is exactly when did you decide to sell out your life's work and values to get this position?
Senator, I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy.
So what you're telling us, just
She cut him off again before he could finish his sentence.
to sacrifice your values, your knowledge, if President Trump tells you to do that, that to me is unacceptable in a Secretary of Health and Human Services.
So now I'm getting where Alex Jones said Democratic witch. Again, I think it's a bit of a, you know, it's Alex Jones. He's going to be exploitative, but this is where, yeah, she's putting words in his mouth. He wasn't allowed to say basically anything. And again, to speak for RFK here, I mean, he doesn't know me. I don't know him. I'm not even a huge RFK guy. I agree with a lot of what he has to say. I do have the concerns about the vaccine stuff, but his view is the old Democratic view. He's like, every abortion is a tragedy, but his view is it should be safe, legal, and rare. That's my assumption anyway. Clip 2. And what was this on? This was on, I guess we could kind of sum this up to is vaccines slash abortion. When it came to the vaccine talk, it's hard to say. I mean, RFK couldn't really, quote, win that one because he didn't really get to say anything about it. She just kind of yelled at him. And then the abortion thing, I think he had a good response. So I'm going to call this one a tie, right? Because if it was a win on both things, I would give it to RFK. Maybe it's a tie, or we'll call it like a tie with a sway RFK's way. So it'll be a tiebreaker if we find ourselves in the middle there. All right, hitting a vape while in a Senate hearing about health is crazy.
I can't put down a cup. I can't put down a cup.
You're kidding.
I can't put down a cup.
Absolute mic drop moment from @Robert Kennedy Jr. Listen to these 2 minutes.
How do you live with that? How do you
Trump,
address those issues as you're moving forward,
You want me to
knowing
answer
that
the
it's going to
question,
harm
Senator?
Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
It's gold. It's gold. I mean, it's got to take so much willpower to just sit there and like put up with being talked over nonstop. Pete Hegseth did a good job. Bobby here is, I think, a little bit less calm about it.
No, I'm asking you.
Okay, President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again.
Applause from the
Is
audience.
that the only reason why
position.
you're at HHS? Is that the
Excuse
only
me?
reason why then you're at the HHS to address that one issue?
President Trump has asked me because I'm in a unique position to end that. And that is what I'm doing. And if we don't solve that problem, Senator, all of the other disputes we have about who's paying and whether it's insurance companies, whether it's providers, whether it's HMOs, whether it's patients or families, all of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking.
That's, I think, a really good way to put it, actually. I think what he's trying to say here is that he was asked to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again, and he would be in a unique position to do that as Secretary of HHS. Everything else that they're asking him about, like the funding and all those things, they are still his concern. It's not the only reason he's there, but those things are going to be viewed through the lens of, I need to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. So it is the lens in which everything else is seen in his position, which I think is the right approach to take. If I was in his position, that's probably how I would view it. You're appointed by the president, so you have an obligation to, in some aspects, do what he wants you to do, right? He's your boss. But also you have autonomy to manage HHS. And so he's saying, I'm going to take what my boss gave me as a task, and I'm going to legislate in a way that kind of operates through that same framework. So good answer so far. Let's keep going.
Our 60% increase in Medicaid over the past 4 years is the biggest budget line now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here. No other nation has a chronic disease. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world.
Why head of HHS? We're giving that one win RFK. Perfect. So far, man, we'll call it 2.5 for 3. Okay, here we go. Can you imagine thinking that at Robert Kennedy Jr. is the bad guy in the story? Watch this. All right, we got 2 minutes. Let's see what we got.
I want to say something about what you first said. When I launched my campaign, it was about uniting Americans, Democrats and Republicans. There's no issue that should unite us more than this chronic health epidemic.
Agreed.
There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children.
For the record, I want to interject here. I'm beginning to feel like one of these senators. I just keep interjecting what he has to say. Heart disease, right? Heart disease is something that is largely preventable, right? There are things that you can take action on to severely or drastically diminish your risk of heart disease. So, and this kills most Americans. I think the second is it might be guns. It might be a suicide, something like that. But heart disease is huge. If we had like some kind of terrorist organization killing as many people in the United States as heart disease does, we would put like every single military operative on trying to combat that threat. And yet heart disease and chronic illness is killing more people than pretty much anything else in the US. And we are not doing nearly enough about it. And this is something that is like really attractive to me about RFK, because it's like he is clearly passionate about this. The thing that makes me like him the most is his passion on defeating chronic disease. Now, again, I'll reiterate the vaccine stuff. I need to hear some more about his takes. He's got some conspiracies in there, but the chronic disease thing is huge for me. Let's let him continue.
Children. These are our kids. 66% of them are damaged. I know what a healthy kid looks like because I had so many of them in my family. I didn't know anybody with a food allergy growing up, peanut allergy. Why do 5 of my kids have allergies? Why are we seeing these explosions in diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, neurological diseases, depression? all of these things that are related to toxic in the environment.
Depression, I think, is not a good one to include because, yes, of course, depression could probably, some cases could be tied to neurological disease in regards to like chronic health epidemics and diet and all this stuff. But I think a huge proponent of increasing rates of depression is probably social media and the chronic internet illness of everybody just being completely attached to likes and comments and all that. There are some cases, of course, that is like purely genetic and have nothing to do with that. But I think that, especially in young people, is a huge part of the increasing rates of depression.
Why can't we just agree with each other to put differences about so many issues, intractable issues aside, and say, we're going to end this? I don't think anybody is going to be able to do this like I have.
This is another reason why I think I like RFK, because he makes a point here too. He's like, he litigated against these people. Big Pharma hates RFK, not just because of his conspiracy theories and his talks against vaccines, but because he knows that they're liars at large, and they're in it to make a buck. Don't really care about public health as much as they should. Passion for ending chronic disease. Win RFK. Senator, are you a conspiracy theorist? RFK rattles off multiple conspiracy theories that come true. Let's see it.
Conspiracy theorist?
Laughter in the audience.
That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me. Mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions.
Damn. Goosebumps. This, I think, is a really, really good take. I think it's very easy to just get pigeonholed into this corner and say, like, oh, no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And then they'll hit you with, well, what about all these conspiracy theories you have? Or you could say, yes, and then, of course, that doesn't look good. But he's like, that's what people call me because they want to try to prevent me from asking hard questions. And for the record, I think it's always good to ask questions. You could be, like, 1,000% certain on some kind of, drug or legislation when it comes to health, and you can still ask questions on, okay, but are we 100% certain? Like, you can't be certain about anything. And RFK likes to ask those questions. I mean, I got to give that to him.
Is there any one of them that you can say, you got me? That really was a conspiracy theory?
Good question.
Or are you in a position?
Not yet. That's gold.
I said it should be studied along with other potential culprits like
So they may cause
social media. But I don't know. I would never make, because there's no science on that,
Well,
Senator.
there is, Senator. I mean, excuse me. There is, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you for the promotion.
The science.
Thank you for the promotion, he says. Yeah, he's funny. He's funny sometimes.
Let me ask you this.
That's not true.
You've described Americans who take mental health medications as addicts who need to be sent to wellness farms to
Holy, did she say wellness farms? Context, please.
recover. Is that what you believe?
No, of course, I didn't say that
Yes, you
anybody should be compelled to do anything.
No, but you said they should be sent.
I said they should be available to them. I didn't say they should be sent.
You said that folks
Kicking and
that take
screaming.
antidepressants are like addicts.
Clip 4. I think he stood his ground pretty well, but overall, I think that specific clip was more of a win for Congress. Drugs and causing homicide. Win Congress.
I don't want to take food away from anybody. If you like a cheeseburger, a McDonald's cheeseburger, a Diet Coke, which my boss loves.
Calling Trump fat. It's true, though. He does love those things.
And you should be able to get them. If you want to eat Hostess Twinkies, you should be able to do that. But you should know what the impacts are on your family and on your health.
I can't agree with him across the board. Like, what I personally would love, like, if Twinkies are actually so absolutely horrible for you, like it's processed everything up the wazoo, well, then I would actually prefer that the government regulates what can be put in them. Like, not saying Twinkies, you can't sell them anymore, because I think that's overreach, but saying like, hey, these chemicals are horrible for people. We're not going to let you put it in your food. So they would have to change the recipe or whatever. It would probably taste like shit. Nobody would buy it. But that would be my caveat behind what he's saying.
And all these Democrats are opposed to me for partisan issues. They used to be my friends. Agreed with me on all the environmental issues that I've been working on for my whole career. Now they're against me because anything that President Trump does, any decision he makes, has to be lampooned, derided, discredited, marginalized, vilified.
Is true. And I don't agree with Trump on everything, but we've hit such a divide in the country where it's like they just need to make Trump their Mr. Bad Guy, that everything he does is horrible and they can't look at any of the good. And so by attaching himself to Trump, RFK becomes public enemy number 2, and the public is just going to hate him no matter what. So granted, he's a little crazy some of the time, but he also is not entirely crazy. So it's the same photo. It's the same photo.
Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion, while at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured.
Yeah, this is like super fucked up. Like our the healthcare system in our country is so ass backwards. It's insane. The fact that the insurance companies walk away with, like he said, billions of dollars, and yet so many people are just chronically sick and can never get better and can never get coverage, and they're denied on every single claim. This is a serious problem. You know, I'm not a big Bernie guy, but he makes a good point here.
Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different, because if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool.
I hadn't thought about it like that. I mean, he's right. Because I probably, without thinking, would have just answered Bernie, yeah, like healthcare is a human right. Everybody should be taken care of. But at the same time, it's like, if you spend your entire life smoking cigarettes and doing shit that's bad for you, and now you expect other people to pay to make you better, doesn't exactly seem right. I would say if you apply it more like blanketly, like if you get in some kind of like horrible car accident, you shouldn't have to worry about being in debt for the rest of your life for the doctors to fix you up. You know, if there's something that is completely outside of your control and that you did not contribute to, then yeah, I think it's a right. Like, you should be taken care of. We have the resources to take care of you. You should be taken care of.
I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite.
You can't really flip on abortion. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you either agree with it, you don't agree with it, or you agree with it with the exceptions. Like, there's 3 options. So it's very, and like, if you take a stand on one of those, it's very hard to say, well, now I disagree. Or if you disagree, it's hard to say, well, now I agree, because you have to basically completely shift your mindset on what you think life is. And that is not something that changes easily. Clip 6. Onesies. We're going to say tie, sway, Senate.
Before I conclude, I want to make sure the committee is clear about a few things. News reports have claimed that I'm anti-vaccine or anti-industry. I am neither. I am pro-safety.
We got the protesters. Oh, crap.
We'll have order. All of my kids are vaccinated. I've written many books on vaccines. My first book in 2014, the first line of it is, I am not anti-vaccine, and the last line is, I am not anti-vaccine. Nor am I the enemy of food producers. American farms are the bedrock of our culture, of our politics, of our national security. I was a 4-H kid, and I spent my summer working on ranches. I went to work with our farmers. I want to work with our farmers and food producers to remove burdensome regulations and unleash American ingenuity. And the first thing I've done every morning for the past 20 years is to get on my knees and pray to God that he would put me in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic and to help America's children. That's why I'm so grateful to President Trump for the opportunity to sit before you today and seek your support and partnership in this endeavor.
Yeah, whether you agree with RFK or not, whether you think he's a lunatic or you think he's a wise man, you can't deny that he clearly cares, right? Like he wants this because he thinks that he can do something good with it. And I think that goes a long way. I mean, again, the path to hell is paved with good intentions, sure. But I'd like to think that he's gonna at least try. So let's do a tally here. So we have RFK. We gave him, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and we'll call it 3.5. 3.5 out of 6. Senate. We gave a 1.5. Basically, what I'm saying is RFK won. We'll see. We'll see what kind of world we're living in the next few years. Tomorrow will probably be a break from the React content. We'll probably start with some gaming. Same thing on Saturday. But if anything kind of crazy happens, we'll make sure to react to it. So, yeah, we'll see you on the next one. And thanks so much, guys. Peace.